Hello! Today I wanted to talk about books that I've recently been reading. I'm a massive bookworm, like I've always loved reading, and over the past kind of year or so I haven't been doing it so much. And recently I've kind of been trying to get back into reading, which I am loving. I'm reading so much at the moment, I'm kind of finding time, because before my excuse was I don't have time. But I've been trying a bit harder to find time. I've been reading on the bus, been reading on my lunch breaks, those types of things. I just thought I'd talk about some of the books that I've recently read and tell you what I'd recommend. So I've got 4 books to talk about. One of them I'm reading at the moment. I've only just started, so I only touch on that one. So let's go. I'm quite into not young books, like teen books. I don't like reading anything too much. I like quite an easy read. I'm kind of into teen books, and I quite like romance books as well. I know they can be a bit cringe, but I'm all for a bit of cringe every now and then. So first book I've got to show you is this one. This is An Abundance of the Katherines by John Green. John Green is an author who I love. I've read a few of his books. This one isn't one of my favourites. Actually, it's kind of in one of my favourite John Green books. My favourite John Green book would be Looking for Alaska. I definitely recommend that. I'm actually going to reread that one soon. But because I love John Green so much, I think I had higher expectations for this book. However, having said that, I enjoyed reading it, and it was a book which I found made me think. I liked the characters, but I wasn't too sure on the plot of the story. There wasn't really much of a story going on, I didn't feel. There was, but nothing major happened. I find with a lot of John Green's writing is more, I love his books because of how they make me feel rather than what actually happens in them. And I also really like how he writes characters. So this book is about a guy called Colin who, I'll try not to give anything away, but it's about a guy called Colin who is obsessed with girls named Catherine, basically. And he dates girls named Catherine over and over again, which, let's face it, that's pretty fucking weird. And then he breaks up with one of the Katherines and goes on a road trip with his friend to forget about the Katherines. 19 Katherines he dates, it says on the back, 19 Katherines and counting. And they go on this road trip and they kind of settle somewhere and meet people. It's kind of what happens when he meets the people. He meets a girl called Lindsay and like her family and her friends. And the book's a lot about, he's got a lot of theories about being dumped and the dumpies and stuff, and he's trying to get a theorem correct. I don't know. It's kind of, you gotta read it. It's not gonna sound very good when I describe it. Like I said, I like the characters. I wasn't so keen on the story, and also it is a bit unrealistic, isn't it? Because who just dates girls named Catherine? Like, it's a lovely name, but let's face it. But well written and good characters and easy to read and not too long either. So I would recommend that. But yeah, like I said, not in my top John Green books. But it is good. I did enjoy it, and it made me think, which is, I think, really important in a book. The actual plot I didn't think was great, but you know. Next one is this one. The next book I have is also by John Green and David Levithan as well. I think that's how you pronounce his name. I'm not really sure, so I'm sorry, David, if I keep mispronouncing your name. And it is this one. Will Grayson, this is. And it's written by 2 authors and is in 2 perspectives. Both of the perspectives are of a guy called Will Grayson. The book is about 2 characters called Will Grayson who live separate lives, who in really weird circumstances meet, which sounds pretty cool. But it was a bit fucking weird, to be honest. So the story is obviously about these Will Graysons. And what happens is one of the Will Graysons is gay. I can't remember if he's came out or not or hasn't, or if he's in the closet or what, but he's gay, and the other Will Grayson has a friend called Tiny, who is not Tiny, who is also gay. Of course, they get it on. I'm probably giving too much away here, but I think that's fairly obvious. The story is based around Tiny, who is not Tiny, making a musical about himself. What? I couldn't take it seriously, because why is it about a guy called Tiny who's not Tiny making a musical about himself? I just think that idea is really good, but I just wasn't getting that. It was an enjoyable read, and I kind of wanted to read more because I wanted to know what was happening. But when I thought back, I was like, what? I'm like, why? What? I just think it could have gone to much better places, but I guess it is kind of a teen book and it's not supposed to be taken too seriously, so it does kind of make sense for the genre, but I didn't really get it. I didn't know how I felt when it ended. It was just a bit odd. It was, yeah, like I said, it was enjoyable, but I wouldn't read it again. It was just a bit weird. I felt a bit disappointed by that one, to be honest, which is a shame, because I really like John Green. I really like the other author as well, David Levithan, who I have one of his books of now, which I absolutely loved. This book is called Everyday. I read this one a little more recently than the other, so this one's a bit more fresh in my mind. So I feel like I could probably talk about this one a lot more naturally than I could talk about the others, whereas with the other two I had to kind of remind myself what happened. It's called Everyday, and this is great. I could not put this down. It's by David Levithan, as I have said, and it is such a good story. And considering it's so unrealistic, it makes a lot of sense. This story is kind of one of the most unrealistic stories I've read, but it was so relatable and it made a lot of sense, which is really, really strange. Basically, this book is about a person who wakes up each day in a different body, which actually, even when you say it like that, it sounds like it would be hard to write about and make sense, but it's not. It's so understandable, and you get this person's character even though you don't know what he looks like, because every day he's somebody else. Each day he wakes up in a new body, and that's how he's always been. And then he meets a girl called Rhiannon, and he falls in love with her, which he kind of explains he doesn't usually allow himself to form relationships with somebody. Of course, when he falls in love with her, he's in the body of her boyfriend, Jason. And obviously Jason, when he goes back to being in his body, doesn't have those same memories with Rhiannon, and she doesn't get it. And anyway, this guy decides to kind of step out of what he normally does and just rather than just live these lives as people. Each day he kind of finds this girl again, and eventually he tells her his secret, and she believes him, and it kind of goes from there. Also, this book, I really liked the ending. It wasn't what I'd expected, but I really liked it. I think it was a clever ending, and it kind of did the characters favours as well, especially the main character. It kind of made you realise he was kind of who you thought he was all along, and he's a nice person. And this book's also great as well because each day this guy wakes up in different bodies. Because this guy wakes up in a different body each day, it covers a lot of issues, a lot of things people have going on. This book kind of covers because this guy is in a different body each day. So it talks about things like transgender, stereotypes, sexuality, weight. There's one day he wakes up in the body of someone who is really heavy, kind of racism. Then there's kind of like obviously some days he'll wake up as an attractive person, some days he'll wake up as an unattractive person, some days he'll be dorky and some days he'll be cool. So it's really interesting as well because he wakes up as all these different people but underneath he's still him. You need to read it, it's great. I couldn't put it down, it was amazing. I really, really enjoyed this book. The next one I'm going to talk about I haven't actually read much of because it's what I'm reading at the moment, but I thought I'd show you. Also, at the start of this video I said I have 4 books. I did, I have 5. I'm going to talk about this one now even though I've only just started reading it because it's quite related to the other one. And this is kind of, not quite the sequel, but it's kind of in the same series. It's called Another Day by David Levithan. And this is the same story but in the perspective of Rhiannon, the girl which he falls in love with. Which I think is really clever that they've written the story in both perspectives. But it's not as good, this one. You can tell this one was an afterthought. I'm not very far into it, so I shouldn't really speak too soon. It might get better. And I am enjoying it. I only just got to the stage where she's found out that he's been in different bodies. I am enjoying it, like I said, but it's not as good as the first one. And the characters aren't so strong in this one, I don't think. It's written in Rhiannon's perspective and she's a bit more narrow-minded and she's not so likeable in this one. She's a typical girly girl, obviously, because I've only heard about her in the eyes of the person who's in love with her, what he's described. But in this one she's a lot more irritating, I'm going to say. Kind of a bit obsessed with her boyfriend and she's in a shit relationship and she's not getting herself out of it, and she's a bit more irritating, but I'm enjoying the book so far, so I'm sure I'll update you on that at some point, maybe on Twitter or something. I'm also going to write a blog post on every day today, so keep an eye out on my blog for that. That's chloeharrods.com. The last book I've got is this one. All the Bright Places by Jennifer Nivan. This is a version from the Zoella Book Club. I just got the entire set from the Zoella Book Club because you save loads of money on books, so why would I not? I really, really liked this book. I think this book was great. It's written in 2 perspectives again, the perspective of the guy and the perspective of the girl. And the guy is named Theodore Finch and the girl is Violet Markey. They go to the same school, they don't really know each other, and they meet because they're both having kind of suicidal thoughts, and as you might guess they fall in love, and it's really interesting. I think both the characters are written really well in this story. I especially love the guy character. I think he's written great and he's really interesting. It's quite a sad story but it's really good. It's a good read, really interesting. Basically, Violet, the girl, is going through a lot of things because her sister has been killed in a car accident, and Finch, the guy, kind of struggles with depression and bipolar and all these kind of mental things which they don't say outright, but they're there and you can kind of see that he's got problems. And they come together and it's just really written beautifully how what happens with them and how they fall in love and everything, and it's really interesting. I also like the ending of this. Some people might not like this ending because I guess it's not what you'd want to happen, but I think the ending was quite nice. So there we go, there are 5 books I've read recently. Look out for reviews on my blogs. I'm definitely doing one on every day, and I may also pop one on All the Bright Places and Another Day as well. So keep an eye out for those. I have loved reading all of those books, and well, you know what I've said. I definitely recommend All the Bright Places and Every Day. I keep saying The Abundance of the Katherines. It's not An Abundance of the Katherines. Is good also, and Will Grayson is a nice read, but I wouldn't read it again. I'd love to hear any book recommendations. I'm sure you get what kind of books I'm into by listening to this, so any book recommendations please comment and let me know. I'd love to hear about them, and I will talk to you very soon. Bye!